What's up, y'all? Welcome to episode 32 of Feel the Heat. I think that's right. I'm going to start this off by giving a disclaimer that I got my booster vaccine, shout out to Alan, earlier today, and I was altered for quite a bit of the day. I think I'm coming down from it, but if I can't string together a sentence more so than usually, that's why. Michael, how are you today?
Better than you are. So,
I mean, I don't mind it. It's like.
So you don't mind being high?
I felt like I was on speed, which I don't think I'd want to feel every day, but like it was like a fun change of pace.
And this was what booster? Just to make it clear that people know what kind of booster this is before
the
they
COVID-19 booster.
Just to make sure.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe this is the reason why you can't get into Canada. Who knows?
I have been to Canada multiple times.
Multiple squared. Nice. Good start to the pod. Way to go.
I mean, like I said, disclaimer. But again, if we would have potted earlier, I don't even want to watch back my appearance on Alex Dono's show because wow. So
you were all over the place. It was kind of like watching a minion from Despicable Me if they could speak English and were fans of the Lakers, then the Bulls, then the Miami Heat. That's what it kind of seemed like.
That doesn't seem to track. But that's like, I feel like I was a minion on the road earlier too. Like, I felt like I was in a video game.
Yeah. I mean, Chicago was less safe because of you.
Probably, but at least it was midday on a Monday.
True. And I will give a disclaimer as well. We are recording this podcast before the Heat play the Nuggets tonight because that game doesn't start until 9. And so it wouldn't finish until late. We're adults with jobs. And so we can't do this, right? We can't do it that late. So we're recording it before then. If the Miami Heat lose this game, you have one person and one person only to blame.
Alex Dono,
Ethan J. Skolnick, and the watch party.
Yes.
Right. They think they broke the curse, but it's really the Nuggets.
But I said this earlier. Alex is there. So I feel like Alex's mush plus Ethan's curse of the watch party cancel each other out. So maybe we're good. You're not there. That would be the wild card because you're Mush Jr. now.
I mean, it's fine. It's a cool nickname. It's a better nickname than Mr. Michael. So
no, it's not.
It really is. But we are back to talking about the number one team in the NBA, the best team in the NBA, even though they had what was, let's be completely honest with it, one of the worst Miami Heat performances I've seen in a long time. We'll go in chronological
collapse,
order,
if you will.
Yeah, we'll go in chronological order from the last time we potted. Last time we potted was after the Mavericks game. 2 games have happened since. That is the Celtics and the Jazz. Let's start with the Celtics game. The Heat lose that game 95-78. They look all out of whack. They look like an awful team. Both teams look terrible. The Heat just found a way to look more terrible than the Celtics did. What happened?
I don't really know if we know what happened. I just think that sometimes teams have awful nights and that's about it. I obviously have a trash memory, but if memory serves, I don't really think that one guy was to blame or even 2 guys were to blame. I just think it was an awful night for everybody.
Yep. All right, who were the top 3 shooters? Not like who made the most or anything. Who had the most shot attempts for the Miami Heat in the game against the Boston Celtics? Give me the top 3 in order.
Just like off of what I'm guessing?
Off of what you're guessing. Yeah, I doubt you know, but.
Duncan, Tyler, Jimmy?
You have the 3 of them correct. It is those 3.
Good order.
Jimmy Butler with 18 field goal attempts, 4 of them being from 3. Duncan Robinson with 17 shot attempts, all of them being 3-pointers. And Tyler Hero with 11 shot attempts, 4 of them as well being 3-pointers.
I don't hate Tyler's number as much, but the other 2 hurt my soul a little bit.
I think I'm unhappy with Tyler's number just because of where he has been this season, though.
Sure. But I mean, again, it's one of those games that are just wonky. Like It's just 17 though.
Yeah. A lot of people decided to blame Duncan. We'll get more into Duncan later. I do want to say though, I want to credit this to a lot of people over at Miami Heat Beat who said it specifically, and I saw them say it first, and it's a very good point. The Miami Heat, when they try to run their offense to center on Duncan Robinson, which is a lot of what was happening that night, he took 17 shots for a reason. They tell him to keep shooting, and I'm not going to blame him for taking shots in a game where nothing is working.
Right.
Okay. But when they try to focus on that is when it seems like the rest of it doesn't work. So for me, the Miami Heat need to focus on getting the offense moving, getting everything going and playing through other people. What Duncan can do is a great side, right? It's like if you have a great dish, right? Like you're eating this great dish, you have like this.
Ooh, Thanksgiving analogy. Let's go. My favorite holiday.
I was just going with regular things, but okay. Okay. Well, let's just say you've got the turkey, right? Duncan Robinson is not the turkey in our offense, right? Or the ham. If you eat ham, I don't eat ham. I think it's gross, but if you like ham, cool, right? He has neither of those things. I wouldn't even give him the mashed potatoes.
He's like the green beans.
Yeah, I was gonna say like the green bean casserole, right? Like maybe the cornbread, right? Like maybe a little bit of that. Like he's that side that is good, useful, and when it's working, it is working, and you want more of it. But he isn't the turkey. He isn't the main entree, and so again, credit to them. I don't remember who exactly said it first, but I know I saw it from them first. But when they're focusing on him, and I think that was a lot of the problem that night, nobody else even wanted to shoot.
It's a catch-22. And I think I said this on our pod, if it wasn't Clutch Corner, but I'm pretty sure it was this. The problem is shooters get into slumps and they need to keep shooting to get out of the slumps.
Yep.
But there's a balance between how much you're shooting and just basically letting it come back naturally. I think it was forced at that point.
Yeah. And we'll get back into more Duncan stuff later because we have to talk about him because everybody is talking about him. But yeah, that Boston game in general just felt like it was bound to happen. And we didn't go into predicting what was going to happen the next game, but it felt like such a Heat move to come off the win against the Mavericks.
We did. And I think you said something along the lines of, because I feel confident we're going to suck. And I was like, no, we got this. It
was the fact that teams are going to start playing up to the Heat.
Right. Yep.
Right. That they have to not see themselves as the underdog anymore. And the Celtics can be terrible against everybody else. That team is built to play against the Miami Heat because of their versatility.
Well, also we have to keep in mind, they came off of that weird players only meeting because Marcus Smart mouthed off after their loss to Chicago. So I feel like they were invigorated. I just think it was a timing thing. It was not anything that is going to be indicative of what's to come. The overreaction was headache inducing to say the least. I feel like Ariel's account was like my burner that night where he was just like, can everyone stop? And I'm just like just across the board. But yeah, I mean, it was awful, but I'm just moving on from it.
But these overreactions are going to happen like all the time. I genuinely believe this is going to be the rest of the season.
I know.
But the thing is, it's not just losses, because if you told me that the Heat lost against, I don't know, if they had lost against the Nets or if they lose a game against the
I know
Bucks,
it's not just losses. It was an awful loss. I get that. We didn't look like ourselves at all. It's one game.
Right. It is bound to happen. What worries me is it happening again when things matter, because as much as I'm a believer of the regular season doesn't matter that much, for seeding it does. You have to make sure you win these games because it is going to matter down the line. Now, they're 7-2 because they bounced back in the next game. They played against the Utah Jazz. They won 118-115.
I have a confession. I literally look at the Utah Jazz and the Denver Nuggets as the same team. Like, I forget that they both exist. I was typing out our rundown and I was like, yeah, win over. And then I was like, we just played the Jazz. We're playing them again tonight. No, we're playing the Nuggets, but they're literally the same team. I don't know what it is about those two teams. I just don't care about them. They're so dull to me. They're the same team in my head. I don't know. It's been like this for years.
Do you know what city the Jazz play in?
Utah. I understand that they're completely different cities.
The city.
Oh, Salt Lake City?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said, what city do they play in? And you answered assuredly.
Well, what? Because no one cares, right? Like, it's Utah. Who cares?
I mean, that's probably how a lot of people feel about Chicago.
Yeah, probably not. And I could say something, but I won't. So let's keep going.
So they played the Jazz. Like I said, they won 118-115. Good game from the Miami Heat. Kind of a rough performance for some people, including my guy. Again, here's my thing with that win, though, and I want to get your thoughts on this. Are you at all concerned with the way that team kind of collapsed at the end of the game, the way they let the Jazz just keep coming back and back and back and back into that game. Were you at all worried by that?
I don't think I was worried. I didn't like what I was seeing. And I think that if it becomes a pattern, then I will become worried. But because it was an isolated incident, I also think that still we need to remember it is so early in the season. And I say that because I feel like our chemistry clicked right away, and that's great. And obviously, a lot of that had to do with the fact that Jimmy and Kyle had this great relationship and whatnot. But at the end of the day, it is still a new team. Things are still being figured out. Yeah. Even Kyle went from basically not even prioritizing his own shot to now trying to work that into his game and try to get his own shots up. That is going to change things along the way. The fact that Tyler came out explosive at the beginning of the season is great. I do not wish that he didn't. But because now we're holding on to how great things were right in the beginning, I think we're forgetting how early it is and that there's still road bumps and like obstacles to work through. So to me, it's just too early. And I think we're losing sight of that because of how well things went off the bat.
Yeah. And I think like the thing with that Jazz game that kind of bums me out is like, he put them away, right? The Heat have been doing that so far this season against those top teams. And they just weren't putting the Jazz away. And personally, as much as I appreciate Caleb Martin, and I think he's a good player, I don't feel super confident in him being in those closing lineups. I just don't. Now I understand.
Yeah, and I think that's something that Spo's also still working through because, again, we haven't had time with all of these guys. And I will be the first one to admit that over the years, Spo's lineups and rotations have been questionable to me sometimes. But right now is just, I don't feel like I can say that so early on with so many new guys.
The one thing I will say is I'm happy to see that Spoelstra is running more into his lineups, more into his team, because before it was the same 7 or 8 guys and it wouldn't change at all, barring injury. Then somebody got injured and then one person slotted in. And that was it. It's nice to see these other guys getting play because Caleb Martin had his moments and it was great. It's just when you get down into those crunch time moments, I don't think Caleb is just there yet. Right. There's a reason.
I agree.
Contract.
I do wonder though, if Spo is intentionally doing this early on to just be like, not that any losses are okay, but better now than later on when maybe the East is tighter and you're fighting for a spot. Or guys are fatigued down the line. So in a way, if that is kind of his strategy, I would rather take a loss or take an almost loss now and figure it out so that we're ready to go later.
Yeah. And just because they started it, Donovan Mitchell had kind of a bonkers game. He's 14 for 28 from the field. Now he was 4 for 15 from the 3-point line, which is horrific. He still had 37 points. Donovan Mitchell, would you take him on the Miami Heat?
I was just about to ask you how you feel about him because I think I realized the other night that his personality irks me.
Really?
Yeah. And it was weird because I've never realized that. And it was early in the game. So it wasn't just because we were like really close, but I was like, you're kind of irritating. Like, I don't know if I vibe with you.
But
Great
Trae
player,
Young,
though.
you love.
Trae Young?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You see, and that's where you and I are just on complete opposites, right? Like Trae Young
what does one
irks
have
me.
to do with another? But that's fine. It's like
because I think
thing.
Right, but I think what irks you about Donovan is the things that irk me about Trae Young.
In what way?
That like the way Trae just like walks up to everything and shoots every 3-pointer like he's Stephen Curry. Like, look, kid, you're great. You're not Stephen Curry.
No, but see, it's not even his. I don't know. With like Don, it's not even his play style. There's just something that like caught. It might have just been like that one night that I'm like, eh. But like I was like, do you irk me? I don't think I like you. And like I've never realized that before.
Would you take him on the Heat though?
Probably, yeah.
Okay. What about Marcus Smart?
Weirdly enough, I've like kind of started coming around on him. I don't know if I would take him yet, but like if you asked me 2 or 3 years ago, I hated the guy.
It makes me sick. I hate Marcus Smart. I absolutely am.
I am starting to understand that. I think he's just one of those guys that you hate playing against, but if you have him on your team, like it would be a different story.
No, he kind of reminds me of Kevin Garnett, and I would have hated Kevin Garnett.
Oh, I hate KG. I've never liked him.
Right, he reminds me of like a little Kevin Garnett, and I can't. I can see that. Also, it's the Celtics. That whole uniform just throws me off. Right, like if you wear that green, get out of my life. I don't want.
I mean, I love Jason Tatum, so
You're ridiculous. Oh, yeah. Now you're like,
curls.
get Jason Tatum to Miami. That boy's never
I've
coming
said
to
that for
Miami.
literally 2 seasons
He's
now.
never coming to Miami, though. Why even have the conversation?
I'm sorry. Am I realistically tweeting out trades now? Is that who I am on the network?
Mean, you did say get Jason Tatum to Miami.
Yeah.
So.
Because I'm allowed to say what I want on my Twitter.
You are allowed to say what you want. You are also allowed to be wrong. And my friend, you're dead wrong. So.
Who wouldn't take Jason Tatum?
Oh, no, we'd all take Jason Tatum.
Right.
Jason Tatum isn't coming to Miami.
I'm not. Okay. Did my tweet say Jason Tatum is coming to Miami? Or we need to figure out a realistic way to get him to Miami?
All I hear is I was wrong and I'm afraid to
wrong
back off
about
this
what?
hill.
Me wanting him in Miami?
I don't know.
Yeah, you don't know.
I really
Moving
don't.
on.
It's just fun to poke at it,
Yeah.
You get real heated and it's kind of
fun. I'm not the right person.
He go on a 5-game road trip. Is it 5? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's 5. Out west.
8 nights.
Playing a couple good teams and a couple rough ones, like the Lakers. Like, oof, what a terrible team. Who could have seen that coming?
Yeah,
They're
not that terrible, but it's fine.
This guy, 2014 All-Stars ain't winning nothing. All right, so 5-game road trip out west. Start against the Nuggets. Follow that up against the Lakers. And then the Clippers. All really late starts, by the way. So if you're on the East
Clippers
Coast,
game is at like 9:30 my time. I'm like, are y'all out of your minds?
Oh, boo-hoo. It's 10:30 out here.
Yeah, but no one cares. I live here.
Central Standard Time is a made-up time for farmers. So
that's fine. I live here, so I only care about Central Time. Funny how that works, right?
Okay, but the majority of the United States cares about Eastern Time. So
you're done. Yeah, no? I don't really go with majority rules because I'm not a sheep.
You see, this is why if we were on StreamYard, I would just like boot you out of the seat.
Oh, I was about to say, I'm just going to leave this recording.
Yeah. I mean, we might have a more fluid episode. So
we then play the
Clippers.
You want me to just
then the Jazz? Now for the video thing, people don't want to see my face.
You're right. Okay, right.
Then the Jazz, then the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Mm-hmm.
Predict the Heat's record over those 5 games. You don't have to go game by game specifically. You can kind of do it in general. That way there's like a give or take.
3-2?
Oh, 3-2. Pretty confident.
Yeah.
Oh, now let me show you what real guts are like. 4-1.
I was going to say that, but I'm like, let's be real here.
I am being real. I think they should go 4-1.
Yes, should doesn't mean will.
But fine. I'll hold them to the expectation. I think they should go 4-1. Fine. I think they'll get one loss somewhere in between there. I don't know which one. Probably the Clippers because they just hate playing against the Clippers every time. Could also see them losing to the Jazz, with the Jazz being a bit fired up as to what's going on. But yeah, I'm going to say 4-1 over the next 5 games.
I like it.
And before we move on to Heat Twitter, Culture Player of the Week, and I will let you go first.
Mine's Kyle again.
Again? Was it Kyle before?
I think I said Kyle.
Dang, you're boring.
I don't know. It's just like he's the only one that is standing out to me in terms of just like contribution. And I don't know. I feel like he came in like super unselfish, knowing that was the role he needs to play. Then he figured out how to do that. And now he's moving on to the next level of like what I was saying earlier, creating his own shot, making sure that he's a top scorer every night. Like, I feel like he's just gradually adding more and more, and I love it.
You see, this is a tough one. And it's kind of weird because I just said I wasn't excited about him being in the closing lineups. But I think I do have to go with Caleb Martin. So I didn't want him to be on the court in those last final minutes.
That's fine. I mean, that's fine.
But it was good to see that he's ready to go. I mean, this is a guy that we got really last minute. I think we got him either like a week before the preseason or already into the preseason.
Yeah.
It was very late when he was added to the team. He's bought into the team quickly. I think we've gotten the best play out of him that basically anybody has. And it's one thing to kind of fill in a couple spot minutes here or there. It's another thing to completely take over Max Strus's role after he went down and just be ready for that. And yes, the Celtics game did not go according to plan. I don't think that had anything to do with Caleb Martin.
No.
But the way he showed up in that game against the Jazz, and he had that one alley-oop from Kyle where he caught it, went underneath midair, and kind of, it was
both of our guys working together.
Gerald Green light. You did it. So Caleb Martin, I would give him Culture Player of the Week because it's one thing to say you're ready. It's another thing to actually be ready. And he is that. So congratulations to him, a guy that none of us really thought would even be on the team. I bet none of us even remembered he was still in the NBA, honestly.
No.
Yeah. Would you like
to transition
us?
The Heat do like picking diamonds in the rough. We're just gonna jump right into it because I have some thoughts. The entire narrative of trading Duncan right now as it stands. Go.
Oh, you want me to go? You said you had thoughts. And
I do, but I'd like to hear yours.
Here's my thing with trading Duncan Robinson. You do not replace Duncan Robinson with anybody that is currently on the team. Max Strus can shoot the three-point ball well. But Max Strus, I would argue, can go through these same exact slumps that Duncan is going through. Max Strus is also not going to hit at the same rate that Duncan does. Now, Max is going to give you better defense and a completely different offensive game because he can drive to the basket. He plays a little bit tougher. He plays a little bit bigger. I still think that Duncan Robinson has a fantastic place in this offense. It's just not as a focal point. It's not. I think he's a great side piece. He's a great addition to the offense. And I think he helps it work because he helps bring defenders out to the three-point line, unlike anybody else on this team can. Even Kyle took a while to get his three-point game going, and that's still being hit or miss right now. Tyler's three-point game is not consistent either. We know that. He had 6 for 8 the other night. He was 0 for 4 the night, the game before that. Duncan Robinson still has a spot on this team. And in my opinion, the number one team in the NBA does not have to worry themselves with trading a current contributing starting piece to try and improve when you don't know what you're going to get. Now, if we're talking some crazy caliber player, right? If you're talking Bradley Beal level or a Damian Lillard level, not that any of these are realistic, but if you're talking about those levels, absolutely. But at that point, I'd trade a lot of pieces that people would argue with me about, right? Because you're talking about a current all-star, a current superstar. Duncan Robinson right now isn't going to get you the return that you want. And you would literally just be trading him to say, oh, well, he's cold from 3 right now, so let's just get rid of him. That game against the Celtics, people wanting to blame Duncan, sure, he missed 12 3-pointers. He was the only guy shooting the damn ball. So get over it. Nobody else even wanted to shoot it. They all look super dejected. He was the only one that wanted to come out and do it. Look, everybody relax. If you tell me we hit the halfway point, Duncan is still shooting 32% from the 3-point line, okay, I'm going to start to worry. This is totally out of the norm.
You know those people who just like can't be satisfied or like they don't feel comfortable in happiness? I feel like that's what's happening here, where it's just like, all right, we have to nitpick something because things are overall going pretty well. So what is the one thing that we can take away from this? Oh, Duncan's not looking great. So why don't we start shipping Duncan away? And it's not just his 3-pointer, but look at that salary. We overpaid him. Are we serious?
Every time that someone calls him, the $90 million guy, you have no idea how contracts in the NBA work because that is what you pay for a guy like him. Okay. And now you're upset because they paid him the $90 million. Before, if he had struggled, what would you have said? Oh, look at the guy on the minimum contract struggling. How is that? Stop. It's ridiculous.
I feel like we're grasping at straws. I don't understand the appeal of being negative. It's like, I just don't live my life in a negative space. I feel like all people want to do is bitch and complain. And so they're just picking the thing to do it with. I think to your point, no one should be looking at Duncan as the number one guy on this team. He's probably the number 5, 6 guy on this team. So yeah, he's not looking great. And I'm the first one to call him out on that. He will be fine. If he's not fine near the trade deadline, that is a different story. If, to your point, he becomes some part of a trade package to get someone huge, still fine. Right now, we are doing pretty dang well. Why don't we just back off and just talk about what's in front of us instead of just making up narratives for no reason? It's driving me insane. It's already getting old. It's only been going on for like what, 2-3 games. Like, how much longer are we going to do this?
Yeah.
I can't.
And in that same thought process, let's both you and I be honest. Tyler Hero right now is shooting 43% from the 3-point line. If that stays the rest of the season, I would absolutely love it. And that's on about 7 attempts per game. So that's a pretty high clip. Do you realistically think he's going to stay at 43% on 7 attempts per game?
It's too early to make an assessment on literally anything. Yeah. It was too early to say like, oh, well, I mean, if we got Kyle, he needs to at least be shooting the ball too. Seriously, look at him now. He will be fine. It's too early to talk about Duncan. It's literally too early. Depot's not even in the lineup yet.
Wait till he is.
Chill.
Once Depot comes in, I'm just, listen, full steam ahead, straight to that championship.
I'm fine. You want to pump out all the positivity to negate the negativity?
But here's what's going to happen though. Like, God forbid, like anything happens to him, I'm the first one that everybody's going to run to. Be like, ha, your jersey purchase. But I'm telling you right now, the moment Victor comes back and starts doing well, all these people are going to be like, oh, I've loved Victor Oladipo the whole time.
Obviously.
What? I paid the money. You wait your turn. That is my guy. Look, like Duncan, there's a lot of us Duncan fans. A lot less. Now, Victor Oladipo, that's my guy. And Tiffany Meeks, also, she and I were both on that boat together. Everybody else, back off. Listen, that's what I'm waiting for. The real season starts when Victor comes in. Whew. Let's go.
I'm ready for it. I'm not so rah-rah as you are, but like, again, that will change a lot of things. So why can't we just have some patience?
It's just everybody's like, it just feels like we're never happy with it. Right. It's like, hey, the Heat just beat the Mavericks 125-110. Let's be mad at this guy.
You know, like those coworkers that all hate their boss, and the only reason they're even friends is because they all hate their boss. That's what it is.
Wait, do we all hate Ethan? Is that what you're saying?
No. See, Ethan, if you're listening to this.
Alana said it, not me. That's what you should take away from
You know what I mean, though? It's just like the only commonality is hating someone, or like if all the players hate a coach, right? Like it's the same type of thing. Negativity brings people together, and that's all it is. But I am sick of it. We already kind of talked about the Boston collapse, so I think we can skip that. What I wanted to touch upon, and this came out earlier, and I don't know if you saw it. UD was talking about the fact that him and his dad had discussed him having a 20-year career in the NBA. I know people were already some people were calling him kind of a waste of a roster space. Are you okay with UD just continuing on to take up a spot?
I am a person that believes that Udonis Haslem can do whatever he wants with this organization because it is Udonis Haslem, and that is our guy. I will always be a believer in that. Now, if the Miami Heat decide there's a guy that we want to have in that spot that we think will actually come out and play and actually will be able to contribute and we want to see him develop, I will understand that move as well. I completely understand both sides of this argument. Honestly, I do. It's a tough one. And I'm okay with people falling on either side. I'm a UD truther. I am not a believer in that 15th, 16th, 17th roster spot. Is that big a deal?
Any sort of difference? Yeah.
I just don't think it does, and I don't think it should. If your
For
team
me,
is in a
if
position
the organization feels comfortable keeping him on, that should be enough. Like, Pat Riley above everything else wants to win. If he doesn't think that we need that one extra guy and that's going to do it, then why does anyone else? I don't understand that.
And let's be honest, the only way that 15th, 16th, 17th now roster spot plays is if there's injuries. And if there's injuries, they can just call up some of the guys from their two-way contracts. They have other people. The Heat are fine at the moment. It's not a big deal. I don't think that UD is a waste of space. Personally, I see the other side of the argument, but for me, he's a lifer. He's a Dolphins fan like me, so I understand his plight and his unhappiness. Like, look, UD 305, we're chilling, bro. We're chilling.
You know who's not chilling? And this will kind of wrap things up. The 76ers are a mess.
You mean ESPN's number one team on the power rankings?
Well, two big stories came out today. The first being that Boston is maybe looking into Ben Simmons. I texted a friend of mine who's a huge Celtics fan, and I'm just like, is this you? Is this your team right now? And he's not happy. I can't say I'm surprised because the Celtics are the Celtics, but that's going to be something.
If Simmons gets traded to Boston from a defensive standpoint, I think that team gets really tough.
But if Marcus Smart is already calling out like guys like Tatum and Brown.
Right. Defensively, I think they're going to be okay because
personality-wise,
like defense
though,
is like, yeah, personality-wise, it doesn't mix. And offensively, woof, it's all Jason Tatum.
And the fact that I think Brown would have to be included in the deal is laughable to me.
I mean, I don't see why the Sixers wouldn't demand him.
No, for sure. But I'm saying from Boston's standpoint, how could you give that up?
Well, I mean, Boston sucks. So
that's about it. The other thing being that Embiid now has COVID and is not doing well. Neither is Tobias Harris, apparently. So that's two players who are not just out because of protocol, they're out with COVID.
So what's unfortunate about that is that it looks like the Sixers are being hit with what the Heat were hit with last year, right? I mean, you're talking about your main guys. I think the Heat lost basically everybody. I think Bam was maybe out a couple games. Because then we played the 76ers, and it was basically just Tyler and a bunch of scrubs out there.
Yeah.
And Tyler was absolutely killing it. And everybody.
My question is, though, like, is this going to start off a chain reaction around the league like it did last year?
I think it depends. I think it depends on what teams they played, the vaccination status of those teams, how quickly they can turn it around. I am no medical professional. I have heard stories about people that have vaccinated and got COVID and turned around from it quickly. I know people that are vaccinated and got COVID and it took them a little bit to get over.
Well, I mean, it doesn't seem like either of them are doing well and they're going to be out for at least 10 days.
Yeah. If they're both out for 10 days, that's a big, that sucks for the 76ers, especially because the 76ers have a bit of a tougher stretch coming up in their schedule because let's be honest, they've had a bit of a piece of cake schedule to start off the season. I mean, they've played teams like Detroit twice and they lost to the Bing Bongs and, they got to play Chicago twice, another pair of frauds. Like,
to be staying on this topic, though, I actually was afraid that because I think right after the Chicago game, one of them, the Harris news came out. And I think like a lot of people were like, are the Bulls now going to all just be hit with COVID? So
didn't Joel Embiid just try to knock out Lonzo Ball?
Yeah.
Joel's going to get himself in trouble.
I think, though, I didn't see the whole thing. I just saw the like aftermath of it. I actually don't know if it was on purpose. It looked like he was just like really frustrated swinging because his face, when he turned around and noticed that he like literally almost just took his head off, was like, oh, dear God. So I'm not an Embiid fan, but I think this time it actually was an accident.
Honestly, the 76ers personally have never scared me ever since we've gotten Jimmy.
Yeah.
I just know that that's a team that we can beat them. I feel confident about Bam on Joel Embiid. I don't think he stops Joel Embiid entirely, but he slows him down big time. The versatility there is fantastic. The 76ers are not a team I'm worried about. They are 8-2. They look really good. The COVID stuff is going to hurt them.
I'm more worried about them spreading COVID at this point than actually playing them.
I mean, do the Heat play the Bulls for a while? I don't think they do.
November 27th.
All right. So then I
happen to know.
They have 19 days to get it together. If they've got the COVIDs, just forfeit because we're going to beat you anyways. So just get out of here. But yeah, look, you know what? It's the 76ers. Number one team in the power rankings by ESPN. Get out. What are you doing?
What does ESPN know, really?
The only people that do are Tim Legler and JJ Redick, who said that the Heat are legit, period. So I like them now. And did you see that they're doing the old man and the three?
I thought of you immediately when I saw that. Yeah.
The live crossover. Too bad I live all the way in Orlando. That's a bummer.
Flights exist. We have to go watch this game.
Oh, that's true. They play the Nuggets. All right. Prediction time. Do the Heat win against the Nuggets in Denver? Something they haven't done since 2016?
Yes.
Wow.
10-point game.
10-point win. Jeez. I'm going to say that the Heat beat the Nuggets by 7. I'm going to be real exact about it. They beat the Nuggets by 7. I think Duncan Robinson shoots 40% from the 3-point line, which is all right, but I don't think it's on enough attempts for it to really be a crazy game. Our leading scorer is going to be Bam Adebayo.
I'm going to say Tyler.
Oh, what Wow, what an out there take. You are
Yours isn't that
spicy
out
tonight.
there either.
Bam hasn't led us in scoring all season.
It's still Bam Adebayo.
I mean, but Tyler's done it like 4 times. You're the kind of person that uses mild sauce on your Taco Bell. It's fine. Take us out.
If you think I'm the kind of girl that eats Taco Bell, you have another thing coming. Good night, y'all, and enjoy the game.